Windsorites are casting their ballots. Who will earn your vote and a place in Parliament? The construction industry is fighting to build up its job pool. There's a shortage, even as it pushes through a building boom. A live look at our city there. Cloudy skies tonight, and we might get some showers this election evening. Really starting to feel those temperatures shift as we inch towards the first day of fall. Colette Kennedy will have the full forecast for us later in the program. Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for watching. It's Election Day, and after 36 days of campaigning, it's now in the hands of voters. The Liberals went into this election hoping for a majority government, but CBC polling suggests that would be a long shot, and more likely this election will be more of a nail-biter where every vote could make a huge difference. Our Jacob Barker was out earlier today, and he spoke with voters about the ballots they cast and the message they want to send to Ottawa.
Setting up for the big day. At the Aquatic Centre, there was a decent lineup before the doors even opened. Voters here to get it out of the way early.
I anticipated a longer line than this coming out here this early to start out with, but got fooled, so Timmy's will do.
Some showing up were making some last-minute decisions, skeptical no matter who wins the day.
Because some people, they just talk, you know? Yeah. There is nothing, you know? Like, I want to do something, I want to do that, you know? And then when they are prime minister, they don't do nothing, you know?
Workers here tell me that they are concerned that people might show up to vote and refuse to wear a mask, something that isn't allowed in this facility. They say that there are ways to accommodate that, including voting at a separate location or even bringing a polling station outside. Windsor and Essex County did see visits from the NDP and Liberal leaders, while Erin O'Toole never made it to town. Local candidates highlighted ideas from bringing electric vehicle production to Windsor to revitalization of the West Side. Some here think we should stay the course, while others say that a change in direction is needed.
I think that we have to start opening things up for tourism. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we have to keep on going in that direction.
I'd like to see a democratic change. I think more socially responsible change. I'm not opposed to interjection into the free marketplace.
One big issue on people's mind here in Windsor West is the availability of affordable housing.
Rent prices are ridiculous, and it's kind of impossible to see how I'm going to be able to afford a rental in 3 years when I'm able to start working.
People, they want to buy houses, they can't, you know, like everything's raising up. I know what's going on, like.
One of the many issues on these voters' minds as they head to the polls to help decide the future of their riding and of the country. They hope Ottawa will listen. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
Nationally, two of the major party leaders cast their ballots today. Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, he voted in Bowmanville, Ontario. We might not have that clip here. Oh, actually, pardon us, we have, in all three ridings, we have some reporters there right now. So we are actually going to take you to Windsor West. Jason Vio is there right now. So Jason, it's been an NDP stronghold for many years, but there is a high-profile candidate who wasn't far behind in the last federal election. So tell us about that. What's at stake here?
Well, Katerina, really what's at stake is we're going to be watching to see if NDP incumbent Brian Massey can hang on to his seat for yet another election. He's been the MP for Windsor West since the year 2000. That's 21 years. And before him was Liberal Herb Gray for another 32 years since it's been known as Windsor West. But like you mentioned, last time around in 2019, it was a close election between those two parties and those two candidates. Let's take a look at that. So Sandra Pupatello, who is again the Liberal candidate on the ballot today, lost 2 years ago by just under 2,000 votes. That's only 4 percentage points. Behind her was Conservative Henry Lau, who was about 9,000 votes behind Pupatello. And this time around, though, it's a different Conservative candidate in the race, Anthony Orlando. There's also Matthew Giancola with the People's Party of Canada and Margaret Villamazar with the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada in this race. Now, one political science professor at the University of Windsor told me last week that this is really still a 2-horse race, although Lydia Miljan doesn't believe that Pupatello can defeat the incumbent Brian Massey in this case. She says that for a couple of reasons. One, that NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is more popular this time around. She also says that there is some frustration among voters as to the timing of this election during the pandemic. So those are 2 factors at play in this election. But also important to note, in Windsor West, there are 2,500 mail-in ballots. And keeping in mind the last election was just separated by just under 2,000 votes. So if it does get close tonight, Katarina, we might not even know the winner this evening. That's because mail-in ballots don't get counted, at least started, until tomorrow.
Thanks for this, Jason. The CBC's Jason Vio live in the Windsor West riding tonight. So now let's turn to Windsor-Tecumseh, where it was a nail-biter in 2019, and it was decided by just a few hundred votes. So our Chris Ensing is in that riding tonight. Chris, do we have you? Okay, I'm so sorry. We have lost Chris. So we are going to move on to our next story. Do we have Amy in Essex? Apologies, we have some technical issues this evening, folks. So we're going to go back to nationally. 2 of the major party leaders, they cast their ballots today. Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole, he voted in Bowmanville, Ontario. O'Toole spent many of his formative years in the town, which is in his home riding of Durham. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau cast his ballot in his home riding of Papineau, Montreal. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh made an appearance in Burnaby, BC today. He voted yesterday, as did Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet. Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada has already voted. Green Party leader Annamie Paul mailed in her ballot. And the timing of this election, with the country in the midst of a 4th wave, dogged Justin Trudeau throughout the campaign. And the timing has very real repercussions for one Essex voter. Craig Dunmore is vaccinated but contracted COVID-19 recently with mild symptoms. He's angry the federal government did not make voting provisions for people who are isolating due to COVID-19, and he's now stuck at home and he can't vote.
They should have did some sort of online method personally. I mean, there's no real way to go about it and keep it safe if you had people who were positive going in. I get that, but it's just kind of disheartening. I did everything that I was supposed to. I got my shots. I wore my masks everywhere, still came down with it, and now I can't vote.
Another Canada-U.S. border deadline, another closure extension. The latest deadline to open the land border was set to expire tomorrow on September 21st, but the Biden administration is keeping its border closed to non-essential travel for at least another month until October 21st. This despite pleas from several U.S. senators to lift border restrictions against Canadians. The land border has been closed since March of last year, even though Canadians can still fly into the States. Meanwhile, the White House is easing some other restrictions. Travelers from 33 countries will be able to fly into the country starting in November if they're fully vaccinated and show proof of a negative COVID-19 test. The construction industry in Windsor-Essex is in crisis. It's in the midst of a building boom, but workers are in short supply. So as Del Molnar reports, the industry is now turning to a new tool to find people to fill the jobs.
As I said, for a heavy/ICI is industrial commercial institutional contractor who's looking for an estimator/project manager.
The Windsor Construction Association has a portal on their website where companies can post job openings and people looking for work can post resumes. It's all in an effort to fill hundreds of vacant positions.
And as we all know, we're still trying to help those people build a new bridge, and they're not even close to full employment. So next year around this time, they're going to be looking for hundreds more bodies.
It's hard for the contractors to explain the shortage. Part of the reason, though, is a building boom in the Windsor area has caused a jump in demand for people to do the work, so it's causing projects to be delayed. It's affecting both heavy construction and home building.
Right now, we're probably adding about a third to our schedule. And, we're probably one of the lucky ones.
The owner of one drywall company says it's taking twice as long to do a job.
Right now, we could probably take on about 20 people. We see over the next year, probably, double that.
The positions needed run the gamut.
Anywhere from estimator, project managers to laborers, foremen, superintendents are important for our projects because those are the ones that outside of our office.
Contractors say maybe some people have a negative view of the industry, so they hope to attract more young people.
If you're coming out of school and you're looking for a career and you're willing to put forward the effort up front to kind of gain a good career, on the back end, construction right now is the way to go.
One worker we talked to here at this construction site in LaSalle says union wages was one of the factors that drew him to construction work in the Windsor area.
Jan K. is from Leamington. He used to run his own construction business, but came here for more stability.
So I figured, great benefits, a great pension. Why not get into this too, right? So, and I could still do my side business on the side, so.
Unlike for some sectors, Lyons doubts the federal CERB payments are keeping people away. He says these jobs pay well, some as much as $250,000 a year. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Drug maker Pfizer is seeking approval for its COVID-19 vaccine to be given to children between the ages of 5 and 11. The company says it will ask for authorization in Canada, the U.S., Europe, and other places. The company is pointing to clinical trials that show the vaccine produces an immune response in that age group. One expert says this is good news for parents worried about their kids being back at school.
When we can actually start vaccinating these children depends on how quickly the vaccine actually receives approval. But one assumes that at some point during this school year, we will be doing vaccines in elementary school children, which is going to make school at least slightly less worrisome for parents and hopefully decrease some of the anxiety that a lot of parents have been feeling about this school year.
Pfizer is already looking at data for even younger children. It's looking at how well the vaccine works in children 2 to 5 years of age and even children between 6 months and 2 years of age. The company may have that information by the end of the year. And a look now at our latest COVID-19 numbers here in Windsor-Essex. 118 new cases have been reported since Friday. We've got 366 active cases, which indicates a decline. We had more than 500 active cases same time last week. But still, 15 people are currently in hospital. And so far, there have been 65 school-related dismissals as a result of COVID-19. 5 schools remain in outbreak. Now, it looks like we may have Chris in Windsor-Tecumseh, so let's see if we can go to him right now.
Yeah, Kat, we've got a tight race out here in Windsor-Tecumseh. The Liberal incumbent here, Kuzmarchuk, trying to make another push to secure that seat, one that he won off of the NDP's Cheryl Hardcastle in 2019. A razor-thin margin there, hundreds of votes. And you can see behind me here now at the Tecumseh Legion that people are out here. This is one of those ridings where turnout has increased over the last number of elections. There's already thousands of advanced polling votes, 8,000 more than there were before. And there's 2,000 votes that will be counted tomorrow, those through the mail-in, the advanced or special, the mail-in or special ballot process. So figuring out who wins this riding will take some time. Now, the NDP's candidate Cheryl Hardcastle has been campaigning with Jagmeet Singh, who's made multiple visits to Windsor-Essex over this 36 election day period. The Conservatives have Catherine Borelli, who's running. She is a registered nurse locally and somebody who's focused on, she says, affordability and job employment numbers inside of our region as well. And coming in to set up here for our live on signs for the PPC candidate here as well, Victor Green. It'll be a very interesting riding to watch, one that people are watching nationally, and we might not know the answer until tomorrow, but we'll keep you updated on that. Kat?
Thanks for this, Chris. The CBC's Chris Ensing in the riding of Windsor-Tecumseh tonight. Turning now to Wheatley. A deal has been reached and the province is officially taking the lead on the investigation into the gas explosion in the downtown core last month. The municipality of Chatham-Kent has been pushing for the province to play a larger role for some time now. The signed agreement outlines that the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry is committed to identifying the source of the gas leak and to find ways to prevent leaks from happening again. Municipal officials say they hope to work with the province to see what can be done financially for residents and affected businesses. In the meantime, outreach services continue to be available for evacuees. It's still not clear when they'll be able to return to the area, though officials say they're working on a timeline for residents. In international news, President Vladimir Putin's United Russia Party has won another majority in the country's parliamentary elections. Putin's grip on power seemed all but assured from the start, with his biggest critics barred from running. And as Briar Stewart reports, there are also claims of widespread vote rigging.
United Russia, the party which supports President Vladimir Putin, has won another majority in Russia's State Duma. That's its lower house of parliament. And it's not surprising because everything about how the campaign was run and how this election was held really speaks to the fact that this was a ruling party that wanted to maintain its grip of power. And this was a campaign and an election that was really void of some of the most critical voices of the opposition. People like Alexei Navalny, who survived being poisoned last summer. Well, he was banned from running and he's currently sitting in jail. But there are others that are part of his organization who are also critical. They're banned from running, and in some cases they're in exile. So there really was this lack of choice. And in fact, Navalny and some of his allies came up with a campaign which they dubbed Smart Voting. And it was really about trying to get people to rally around individual opposition candidates and not split the vote. And part of that Smart Voting campaign diverted some support to the Communist Party, and it actually picked up about 20% of the votes during this election. That's a pretty big jump over the last election, where they had about 13% of the vote. That being said, the Communist Party isn't happy with the results. They say that there was, widespread violations, and they're calling for protests. And the whole issue of violations is something that's come up repeatedly over the last couple of days. Social media has been flooded with videos showing what appears to be ballot stuffing, people that have so many papers in their hands that it's difficult for them to actually put it all in the ballot slot. Russia's Electoral Commission says that they've only threw out about 25,000 ballots, which they say is actually pretty small considering how big of a country Russia is. But observers, independent ones, and opposition observers say the issue is much more pervasive, and they're going to be looking at these results very carefully. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Moscow.
A live look at the states there after a glorious weekend. It's a cloudy day this election Monday, and there is a chance of showers ahead just as summer winds down, even if we're not ready for it. Colette Kennedy will be here right after the break with the full forecast. Stay with us. now we are returning to federal election coverage. Earlier, we heard from our reporters in Windsor-Tecumseh and Windsor West, and now we go to the Atlas Tube Center in Bell River, where Amy Dodge is standing by. Amy, what are we watching in the ride of Essex?
Well, right now we're watching to see if this remains a conservative riding by re-electing Chris Lewis, or whether or not Tracy Ramsey will have the support she needs to win the seat for the NDP. This has been a long-time conservative riding, but many will remember back in 2015, that's when Tracy Ramsey turned this riding orange for a brief period. She ousted at that time Jeff Watson. He had held this riding for the Conservatives for 11 years. Now we know last election that Chris Lewis from the Conservatives returned this riding back to his party. So many are watching to see if he can hold the seat or whether or not it will return to the NDP. Now, last election, Liberals' Audrey Festriga, she came up in third place. So many are seeing where they will land this year. Also on the ballot, the Green Party with Nancy Pacheco, People's Party of Canada, Beth Sharon Roberry, Christian Heritage Party of Canada with Jeremy Pelko, and Independent Andrew George is also on the ballot. We didn't hear much from Chris Lewis during the election. He let the party leader do most of the talking. So it will be interesting to see whether or not that played any role or had any impact on the ballots that are going to be cast today.
Thanks for this, Amy. The CBC's Amy Dodge live in the riding of Essex tonight. And when we come back, we'll have Colette with your weather update. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy joins us now for weather. Colette, it is starting to feel more and more like fall, a little bit gloomier today, cloudier.
Yeah, and this is where we're headed for, okay, just for this week at least, we're really seeing a pattern kind of setting up where we're going to have a system sort of stall out over top of us. So we are going to see some grayer skies and some significant rain coming through too. And yes, fall officially begins on Wednesday, and we'll find the temperatures coming down a little bit too. So some off and on showers to start, even a few embedded thunderstorms in there. It becomes more organized, so late Tuesday into Wednesday, more widespread and some heavier rain pushing through, and we also by midweek start to see that shift in our temperatures. So we've been, above seasonal. We're going to be going a little below seasonal. I mean, talk about some decent readings and a bit of humidity too as the system is moving towards us and kind of getting set up. And there's just what's been more spotty in terms of the precipitation, but widespread across Michigan. The broader perspective, there are some heavier rains into northwestern Ontario and even some rainfall warnings, some areas looking at 50 to 60 millimeters. Well, some of our weather models are wanting to put down that or even twice that into parts of southern Ontario. So, yeah, we're going to be watching this very carefully. I think that may be enhancing it a bit too much, but obviously it's pretty important to be watching if this stalls, how long it stalls, and just how much rain we could be seeing, that risk of getting into some flash flooding or flooding along the shoreline. So here we go into tomorrow morning. There could even be some sunny breaks, by the way, through the mid part of the day, but some wet weather early and then starting to fill in, especially not just tomorrow afternoon, but tomorrow evening, overnight. And then look at this as we get into Wednesday. And even this is late Wednesday, some of that precipitation coming through. So I don't want to scare anybody, but some of the models taking us to Wednesday evening, I mean, putting 60, even 75 millimeters, 76 there in some parts of southern Ontario. So temperatures tonight, those are mild. Tomorrow, they're still mild and above seasonal. But that story as we go into fall is the temperatures will be coming down along with the wet conditions.
Yeah, dare I say it, it's time to grab that pumpkin spice latte. Am I allowed to say that yet? I don't know.
Do you know what? I have those all year round. I buy the flavor so I can just put it in. So yes, it's time for everybody.
There you go. Perfect. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
Former Paralympic swimmer Danielle Campo has made a remarkable improvement during her stay at a London hospital. The medalist had been on life support, suffering from complications after a C-section last month. Well, now she is off life support, awake and talking and eating. Her mother says it's a miracle and credits all the prayers and support she has received.
We're just thrilled by her progress. The doctor thinks because she was an athlete, she knew how to do the impossible. She knew she had trained all her life to, what I would tell her is, hit that wall and you can do this, Danielle. You know how to work hard. And Steve and I are just amazed. We think she's one real tough girl.
Campo is expected to be moved from intensive care shortly. She may be returning back to Windsor in about a week. Her mother is not sure if her daughter will be at the TAFOR campus or in hospital. She expects Danielle will need a significant amount of rehab once she's out of hospital. We turn now to the Spanish island of La Palma, just off northwest Africa. Lava continues to ooze down hillsides a day after a volcanic eruption.
Ahí hay 8 metros de lava.
Fiery rivers of molten lava have swallowed up dozens of homes and left a wide trail of destruction in the countryside. No one was injured, but authorities had to quickly evacuate around 5,500 people on Sunday. The lava is expected to keep flowing for weeks, but is unlikely to pose any immediate danger to local residents. Spain's prime minister is praising scientists monitoring the increased seismic activity for a warning about the imminent eruption. That's it for CBC Windsor News. The polls are still open until 9:30 tonight, so you still have time to vote in this federal election if you haven't already. And we'll have up-to-date coverage on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Have a great night.